This is the Let's Go Blues Minute brought to you by Puckdoku, the original hockey doku. Now here's your host, Jeff Ponder.
Well, what an event this Four Nations face-off has been. If you didn't see U.S. and Canada on Saturday, you are not doing your Saturday nights correctly. This was an unbelievable game, just one for the ages. United States took this one, and they clinched a berth in the Four Nations face-off championship game by defeating Canada 3-1 in front of 21,105 screaming fans at Bell Center on Saturday. The goalies were, I thought, great in this game. Connor Hellebuck for the United States made 25 saves on 26 shots. Jordan Binnington made 20 saves on 22 shots. The first goal he gave up was pretty weak, but I thought after that he more than made up for it and played some great hockey for Team Canada to keep them in this game. Goal scorers included USA's Dylan Larkin getting his first of the tournament. Jake Gensel added his second and third goals of the tournament, the third being an empty net goal. And for Canada, Connor McDavid scored one of the beauties of this tournament very quickly up the ice, and Jordan Binnington even ended up getting the secondary assist on that goal. So nice to see Jordan Binnington get on the board. He's outscoring Colton Parayko right now. We'll get to Colton in a minute. It was the United States' first win against Canada in a best-on-best international tournament since the preliminary round of the 2010 Vancouver Olympics on February 21st, 2010. How about the start to that game, huh? U.S. forward Matthew Tkachuk fought Canada forward Brandon Hagel right after the initial puck drop with 2 seconds having come off the clock. On the ensuing face-off, U.S. forward Brady Tkachuk did the same with Canada forward Sam Bennett after one more second ticked off. After another face-off and 6 seconds of play, J.T. Miller of the United States and, yes, Blues defenseman Colton Parayko of Canada fought after a scrum by the U.S. net. Parayko dropped some haymakers in that one. Yes, he had the reach advantage, but nice to see Colton absolutely dropping them on JT Miller in that game. There were 31 hits in the first period, 17 for the U.S. and 14 for Canada, including 2 hits from Charlie McAvoy on Connor McDavid and Brady Tkachuk drilling Drew Doughty behind the net. Final hits in this game were 34-29 for the U.S. That's a far cry from what we saw with Sweden and Canada, which was only 21-20 in hits in favor of Sweden. Matthew Tkachuk didn't play the final 12:36 of the game because of a lower body injury. He stayed on the bench. Coach Mike Sullivan said Tkachuk was being evaluated and the coach was not sure of his status for the game against Sweden on Monday. Colton Parayko played in 18:33 and contributed 1 shot, 2 blocked shots, and 2 hits for Team Canada. U.S. now leads the tournament standings with 6 points. They are 2-0 because of 2 regulation wins. Canada's record sits as 0-1-0-1 with their 1 win coming in overtime. Sweden and Finland each have 2 points. A regulation win is worth 3 points in this tournament, so the United States can't be caught for first place when the remaining 2 games of the round-robin portion are played at TD Garden in Boston on Monday. Canada will clinch a berth in the final with a regulation win against Finland on Monday. Finland will do the same if it defeats Canada in regulation. We'll get to some clinching scenarios in a minute. The championship game is at TD Garden on Thursday as all games now shift to the United States. An important quote that came out of this game, Dylan Larkin, I think he said what we were all thinking, that was one of the best experiences of my life. Just an unbelievable hockey game. Cannot agree more, Mr. Larkin. But there was one other game on Saturday. Finland won a thrilling game of their own, defeating Sweden 4-3 in overtime on a Mikael Granlund goal. Next up, Canada will play Finland at noon, and the U.S. will play Sweden at 7 tonight. Both games can be seen on TNT. Stat of the day, which is brought to you by Puckpedia.com, where you can get all kinds of great hockey information. We're going to talk about some clinching scenarios here. So in this tournament, with only 3 games remaining, Canada will clinch a berth in the Four Nations Face-Off Final if it defeats Finland in regulation, or if it defeats Finland in overtime or shootout, and any result of the United States and Sweden other than a regulation win by Sweden. So basically, as long as Sweden doesn't beat the U.S. in regulation, Canada will have a chance to still clinch. Finland will clinch a berth in the Four Nations Face-Off Final if it defeats Canada in regulation, or if it defeats Canada in overtime or shootout, and any result of U.S.-Sweden other than a regulation win by Sweden. So kind of a similar situation as Canada. Sweden kind of controls their own destiny here. They will clinch a berth in the Four Nations Face-Off Final if it defeats the U.S. in regulation and the Canada-Finland game is decided in overtime or shootout. So for Sweden, they are hoping the earlier game does not knock them out. If it's decided in overtime or shootout, they can then beat the U.S. and clinch a chance to face the U.S. again in the final on Thursday.
Wait, Jeff, one more thing.
Well, let's get into talking about Puckdoku, which you can play over at puckdoku.com. The winner was me, woohoo! Uniqueness score, I beat Bill 22-44. Best play was from me. I played in the Colorado Avalanche in the team captain square, Mike Huff at 0.7%. You might remember that name, Mike Huff. Fun fact from him, in 1996, Huff played with the Florida Panthers and scored the last goal in the Spectrum, which was the famous Philadelphia Arena, in double overtime of the fifth game of the Panthers' semifinal series against the Philadelphia Flyers. Florida went on to win that series 4-2. Then they took the Eastern Conference Final and went all the way to the Stanley Cup Final to, of course, lose to Mike Huff's former team. Well, he played for the Quebec Nordiques, but they ended up losing to the Colorado Avalanche.
This was the Let's Go Blues Minute powered by Puckdoku. Remember to tune into Let's Go Blues Radio, the original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast and webcast. Available wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube and Facebook. Until next time, hosers.